Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be setting up the VTX on your quad. But first, what is the VTX? Well, the VTX is actually short for video transmitter, so it does exactly what it says. It transmits the video from your quad all the way to your goggles so you can see what your drone is seeing while you're flying. Like I said, the VTX is needed to fly an FPV, or else you won't be able to see what in the first person view. But for the VTX to work, you need to start by finding the right VTX table. Okay, I'll explain all of this to you right now. So go ahead, plug in your quad, and we'll get started right away. Okay, so now that we've plugged in our drone, we're going to go all the way down to the video transmitter tab, which is right under the OSD tab, right over here. Click on it, and once you click on it, you'll see a whole lot of things. It's going to look intimidating. You'll see a huge grid down here, and it might look really complicated, but I'm telling you, it really isn't that complicated. Because all you got to do is find the correct VTX table. But before you do that, I want you to know what the VTX table actually is. Basically, the VTX table is the table of all the frequencies that your VTX can actually is allowed to transmit on. Because depending on which country you're in or where you are, there are some bands and channels that you cannot transmit anything on. So you got to be careful, which is why you should never make your own VTX table. Always get it from the manufacturer for your VTX. To do that, to find your VTX table, just find the manufacturer of your VTX and go to their site, and you just look for your VTX, and they're definitely going to have the VTX table for it. Another thing you can also do, which I recommend less doing, I'd prefer you go to the manufacturer's site, but what you can do is go to the site where you bought the VTX. So let's say Amazon or Banggood, and from there go into the description, and sometimes they might have the VTX table in there. It's not always there, so I recommend just going to the manufacturer's site and finding the VTX table. But yeah, once you have it, save the VTX table into a text file on your computer somewhere where you'll remember where it is. I already did that, which is why I'm not doing it with you, but it's very simple. You usually just have to either select it all, or if it's a file, just right click and save to your computer. Make sure you save it somewhere where you'll remember where it is. And once you have it, go back to Betaflight, and what we're gonna do is very simple. So here's what we're gonna do. Okay, so what you're gonna do, click on load from file all the way down here. Load from file. From over here, find your file. I already have it over here, but find the VTX table file that you have. Once you find it, click on it and press open right over here. And that's it. You'll have the whole VTX table filled, and you're pretty much done. I want to bring your attention to something that's up here, the attention thing. It says that the value of the VTX table the values of the VTX table have been loaded, but not yet stored on the flight controller. You must verify and modify the values to be sure that they are valid and legal in your country, and then press the save button to store them on the flight controller. Basically, like I said before, it depends on which country you're in. Some channels you're not allowed to transmit anything on. It's usually safe when you take it from the VTX table from the manufacturer. So if you took it from the manufacturer, you should be fine. This is mostly for, let's say you made your own VTX table, which I really do not recommend doing. Just get it from the manufacturer. It saves a whole bunch of time, and it's just so much more it's so much easier just to get it from the manufacturer. But yeah. So not too important if you got it from the manufacturer, so you should be fine. Once you've done this, you're simply going to click save to save it to the flight controller, and once it's done, the message is gonna disappear, and you've got your VTX table, and that's all you got to do. All right, so now that we've done this, let's just do a little test. So take your goggles and turn them on. All right, so Now, obviously on the screen, it's not on a channel where my goggles aren't on a channel where there is anything, so you won't, it's just gonna be a white noise and white screen. There's nothing. What you're gonna have to do is, first, before I do any of that, you need to connect your battery to your drone. The only way your VTX will get any power and the only way it's gonna work is if it is powered by a battery. Obviously, when you're flying, you don't need to worry about that because you're always going to be plugging in a battery for your drone to fly. But when you're working on Betaflight over here, just plugging in your drone to your computer does not give any power to the VTX or the motors actually. So you need to plug in a battery for it to work. So let's just plug in a battery. You'll hear the beep, and then we should be able to get a signal. There we go. So it found the channel of my drone pretty much right away. So that's good. Right, the image is perfect. I moved the drone. Everything's good. You don't actually see this on the recording, but what it says is that it's on channel 4, and the number is 5790. So if I look at channel 4 and I look around here, 5790, right over here. That means that it works. It's on a channel that is in the VTX table, which means it's my VTX is working. And yeah, that's all you. If you click search, if you don't see an image right away, just click the search button or whatever button it is to find a channel on your goggles, and it should find it right away. Alright, so it's the end of the video. You've successfully set up your VTX and your VTX table. Your VTX is working perfectly now. I hope you liked the video. I hope you understood, and I'll see you in the next one.